Hello, my name is Michael Bass and I'm a product engineer with Clutch Industries. Today I'll be talking about Technical Bulletin number 3. Technical Bulletin number 3 relates to vehicle application Ford Falcon XR8, GT and GTP. This is a 5.4 litre engine and it also covers V8 that is, and it also covers 5-speed and 6-speed transmissions. The vehicle manufacturing date of this is October 2003 to September 2005. This technical bulletin basically talks about a concentric slave cylinder spacer which has to go between the transmission and the concentric slave cylinder. The reason we need this spacer is basically because the Clutch Industries cover assembly, which you see here, is different to the original manufacturer's cover assembly. The original manufacturer's cover assembly is a self-adjuster, whereas the Clutch Industries one is not. Now, when they are bolted up to a flywheel, the diaphragm finger height of the Clutch Industries version is lower, and that's where these spacers come into play and they compensate for this difference. So within your clutch kit, along with all the other components that you get normally, a cover, clutch plate and bearing, you'll also get a spacer, a zinc coated spacer, which comes in a 4mm version for the 5-speed transmission and an 8mm version for the 6-speed transmission. So now I'm going to talk about the procedure of installing this spacer when you are installing a Clutch Industries clutch kit. The first step is to remove the transmission from the vehicle as per the original manufacturer's specifications. This involves also disconnecting the hydraulic lines. So once you've got the transmission down, you'll basically see the concentric slave cylinder mounted on the input shaft wall of the transmission. You'll also notice that it has 2 mounting bolt holes, and the bolts will be in there. These are the bolts that you must remove. So undo them and remove the concentric slave cylinder. Now, at the rear of the concentric slave cylinder, if you have a 6-speed version of the vehicle, you might find that the original manufacturer has a 2mm spacer already in there. It's important to remove and discard this spacer. So at this point, the next step would be to get your Clutch Industries spacer and align its mounting bolt holes with that of the concentric slave cylinder. And you can align these holes with those of the concentric slave cylinder. Align them up and then place them back into the transmission against the input shaft wall. Then take your bolts. Now these could be original bolts that you've removed from the original concentric slave cylinder, or if you are using an 8mm spacer, which is found on the 6-speed variant, Clutch Industries will supply extra bolts for you which are longer to compensate and accommodate for this thicker spacer. So you can torque those bolts up back to their manufacturer's recommended torque. Once you've fixed the concentric slave cylinder back to the transmission, the next step would be to reinstall the transmission into the vehicle and hydraulic lines as per the manufacturer's specifications. After the installation of the transmission, it's then important to bleed the hydraulic lines. This is a very important step for this clutch kit. Clutch Industries recommends a power bleeding procedure, and also it's important to continually monitor the reservoir levels, the hydraulic reservoir levels of the master cylinder during this process. If you require any further support with this technical bulletin, please contact Clutch Industries on 1300 369 787.